So, here we see a Homo sapien, adolescent, hungry. It looks perturbed because it hasn't eaten in several hours, and among other things, its blood sugar levels have dropped somewhat. It also needs amino acids from proteins, nucleic acids, and lipids. Fortunately, this cookie it has acquired provides all these essential elements. Its digestive system has a simple goal: break down the cookie into its nutrient pieces and absorb them into its body. Digestion in Homo sapiens begins in the mouth. As the human chews the cookie, or masticates, it increases the surface area so that its enzymes can break the nutrients down more quickly. The human salivary gland secretes amylase, which immediately begins to break down the starch. And it swallows. Watch as the cookie passes into the esophagus. It is not gravity that pushes the bolus, or ground food, down the esophagus, but rather the coordinated peristalsis and the smooth muscle lining of the esophagus. The wave-like motion of this muscle efficiently maneuvers the bolus downward. The cookie passes the cardiac sphincter and onward into the stomach. The Homo sapiens stomach, like that of so many animals, is a treacherous place indeed. The gastric juice secreted by this human stomach greets the cookie with a mixture of hydrochloric acid, mucus, and pepsin. The pH is around 2. Now, any lingering microorganisms on the cookie soon are killed, and the pepsin tears apart cookie proteins into their individual amino acids. The liver and gallbladder secrete bile, a horrid mix of fat and salt, which emulsifies the lipids of the cookie. Moments ago, it looked like a tempting morsel, but the cookie now leaves the stomach as chyme, and any resemblance to this tasty snack from moments ago is lost. Now into the small intestine. The digested cookie nutrients are absorbed into the body, thanks to villi. These finger-like projections grab any passing monomer and take it into the body. It may be called small, but stretched out, this intestine would reach some 20 feet in length, and it will take hours for the cookie to complete the journey through it. Onward to the large intestine, so called for its width, not its length. All usable nutrition has been taken from the cookie, but hungry bacteria still live here and feed off the waste. Homo sapiens benefit from this arrangement, as the bacteria give off vitamin K as a byproduct. Any lingering water and minerals are reabsorbed into the large intestine, or colon, and the final waste is pushed through the rectum, anus, and out of the body. As for the fate of the waste, well, Homo sapiens have evolved the intelligence to create indoor plumbing, which greatly increases sanitation and health. A fitting end to the glorious cookie. Here again, we see our familiar adolescent Homo sapien. Day in and day out, you will see organisms such as this rhythmically pulling air into and out of their lungs, a process known as breathing. This acquisition of air is necessary because Homo sapiens require a staggering amount of oxygen, thanks to cellular respiration, the process of using glucose to make ATP. Respiration requires oxygen in order to be efficient and in turn releases carbon dioxide. It is the job, then, of the respiratory system to bring oxygen-rich air into the body and exhale air choked with carbon dioxide. Notice that as this organism breathes, its rib cage extends outward, then contracts out and in. It may seem that the work is being done by the ribs or the chest, but in fact, it is the sac-like muscular diaphragm that is calling the shots here. When the diaphragm muscle contracts downward, the lungs are forced to expand outward. This decreases the air pressure in the body cavity, so the higher pressure outside forces air inward. When the diaphragm expands upward, the increased pressure forces air back outward. When it is resting, this Homo sapien will breathe in and out about 15 times per minute. During periods of stress, as when competing athletically or protecting young from predators, the breathing rate may increase dramatically. As with food, the pathway of oxygen-rich air coming into the body begins in the mouth, or, as resting mammals prefer, through the nasal cavity, which filters and warms the air. From the mouth, it is to the pharynx, then the larynx. Now, to prevent air from entering the esophagus, which of course leads to the stomach, a flap of tissue called the epiglottis covers the esophageal opening. From the larynx, it is down the trachea or windpipe, a tube lined with bone which projects visibly out of the throat of Homo sapiens. Male Homo sapiens tend to display bumps on the top of their trachea known as an Adam's apple, whose size accounts for the deep, attractive masculine growl that has been said to play some role in the attraction of female mates. The trachea reaches the center of the chest, where it splits into two bronchi. These bronchi then enter the wonderfully moist, flexible, sac-like lungs, the most important organs in the respiratory system. One must remember that oxygen and carbon dioxide are tiny molecules, so to exchange them, we need to move the air into increasingly tiny chambers. This is why the bronchi divide into many bronchioles, which finally lead to the alveoli. The alveoli are where the respiratory system meets the cardiovascular. Blood steeped in carbon dioxide releases that harmful gas from the alveoli into the lungs, while the blood greedily absorbs the oxygen from the air that has just been inhaled. The blood then returns to the body, while the carbon dioxide-rich air does a U-turn and leaves the lungs in the exact reverse order from which it came. Remarkable. The truest workhorse in the Homo sapien body is the muscular, four-chambered heart. This organ will beat an average of 60 times per minute for the animal, a staggering 2 billion times in the average lifetime. It will pump enough blood to fill a 50-meter-long Olympic-sized swimming pool. The reason for this ceaseless devotion? Quite simply, to bring oxygen to the body tissues, to take carbon dioxide away, and to deliver the nutrients and minerals that were so efficiently obtained by the digestive system. Just as a city requires a vast system of pipes to deliver water and remove waste, so does the human body require a network of blood vessels to keep life, quite literally, flowing in one's veins and arteries. We will begin our journey of circulation with a parcel of blood that is found in the big toe of this Homo sapien. A small insect has crawled onto the toe, irritating our mammal with an itch. It immediately wiggles the toe, shaking the insect loose. This minute maneuver has nonetheless required energy, the production of which requires oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide must not be allowed to build up into the bloodstream, as it will acidify the blood. The circulatory system must force it to be removed. This animal will die unless this is accomplished. A vein will begin to carry the carbon dioxide-laden blood up the leg and into the torso. From there, it rapidly makes its way up the chest to the vena cava, the principal vein which returns blood to the heart. The blood then enters the right atrium, a flimsy heart chamber designed to do little more than receive blood and pass it along. The heart beats, ba-bum, 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 each time moving the blood from one chamber to the next. After the right atrium is the right ventricle, a more muscular chamber, which supplies the force to push the blood out of the heart. The destination? Why, the very same alveoli in the lungs, of course. The pulmonary artery leads the blood from the right ventricle into the lungs, where it can release that pesky carbon dioxide and obtain much-needed oxygen. And Success. The oxygen-rich blood now need only be distributed to the body. This requires a return to the heart via the pulmonary vein. The oxygen-rich blood enters the left atrium of the heart where, ba-bum, 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 it is passed to the left ventricle. The human heart is situated dead center in the chest, but the raw power of the left ventricle makes one sense one's heartbeat slightly left of center. Why so powerful? It must, of course, push blood to the entire body, including the oxygen-hungry brain, a trip which goes against the force of gravity. This particular parcel of blood, though, is bound again for the big toe. The left ventricle contracts and whoosh! The oxygen-rich blood exits the top of the heart via the aorta, then follows one artery after another on its way to the big toe, which may again need a wiggle. What is perhaps most remarkable about Homo sapiens compared to other mammalian species is the extraordinary size of its cerebrum. This massive frontal brain portion is what allows humans to communicate, make art, love one another so dearly, and learn about the earth around them. Every conscious thought, feeling, and command of the body comes from this portion of the human brain. And yet, the amazing processes seen here, digestion, respiration, and circulation, happen without a bit of consciousness required. They will continue, unappreciated and unrecognized, for the duration of this animal's life. And they are truly wondrous.